All right, let's look at this one all together because I might solve this a different way than you solved it. So the first thing I'm looking at is I need to find that x and that y. And I look at this bottom right one and it says it's 30 degrees. So if I just focus on this big triangle here, so in my head I'm kind of making all this stuff disappear. I'm going to see that I have a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And we have this as being 6. And so I could solve this really big triangle. In fact, I'm going to solve this really big triangle first. Actually, let's not. Let's get the x first. Let's get the x first. I'll just think because we all got it right. It doesn't really matter what order I do it in. But let's go ahead and get this triangle first. That big one right there. So I'm going to draw that triangle right below. So I have this little triangle here where I have a 90 degrees. I have this as 6. I have this angle up here being 60 degrees, which makes this one 30 degrees. If we label it with S's, the side across from 30 is our shorter side, so that's going to be my S. The side across from the 60 degrees would be S square root of 3, and this length would be 2S. Yep. So if 2S equals 6, S would just equal 3, which also means X equals 0? No, X equals 3. So this length right here is 3. Well, now what I'm going to do is my method I'm going to use this big triangle. I'm going to use this the whole big triangle. You could also use the little triangle as well. Both would work. So I'm going to use the big triangle. Bless you. Where this is 90, this is 30, this is 60, and this is, in fact, the 6. All right, since it's 30, 60, 90, the one across from 30 degrees would be, I'm going to use x this time because I already used s. So let's not use x because we actually have x's. Let's use, someone pick a letter. Z?
G. Oh.
So we'll use z to name that one. So that means the one across from 60 degrees would be z square root of 3. And this one right here would be 2z. Well, that means that if z equals 6, 2z equals 12, which means this entire length here is 12. So how long is y if the entire length is 12 and x is 3? 9. Awesome. So x equals 3, y equals 9. Any questions on this one? This is kind of what's going to be today's lesson is. We're going to be going through a bunch of triangles, ladies. We're going to be going through a whole bunch of triangles, and we have to discover what 30, 60, 90, or 45, 90 degree triangle I can pull out, solve it, and use it for something else. So, for example, we're going to do 2 quick examples, nothing new, stuff we already know, just how we're going to do this assignment. So if I look at the first one, we've already done a problem like this. We did this in class. We did it for homework. We did it, I think it was an answer over there that we had to do these problems on. We're going to look at it the exact same way. We're going to draw the exact same triangles. We're just going to use 45, 45, 90 instead of using the Pythagorean theorem. So in order to solve this problem, the first thing you need to do is you need to draw that little shadow underneath this line. So I'm going to go from this bottom corner to that corner, which is going to create 2 right triangles. First of all, I don't know the length of that. Let's go ahead and call it A. I'm going to call that length A. The first triangle I'm looking at, I'm going to try to color it in so you can kind of picture it. I'm going to draw that vertical triangle right there. In fact, let's leave it as this. So we're going to bring that down here. And that triangle right there is going to look something like this. It's going to be a right triangle where the base is A, my hypotenuse is D, but the height of it is that 2. Well, if I'm doing a formula for this, I'm going to come up with, well, D squared equals 2 squared plus A squared. So you can't get very far. That means we need that other triangle that we created. So that other triangle that we created, let's see if I can color that one in as well, so we can kind of really picture what's going on. Let's color that in green. It's going to be, I erased everything. I even erased that. Let's put that back in. There we go. So I'm talking about this triangle that's laying flat right there. Can we all see that triangle? Okay. So I'm going to pull out that triangle there. Well, maybe I'll just flip it kind of upside down like this. So I'm drawing that triangle there where the hypotenuse is A. And my two sides are 5 and 5. Now, up until yesterday's lesson, when we first learned this, we would do a squared equals 5 squared plus 5 squared, and then we kind of solve for a. In this case, you can still do that on the test. All right, you have this problem, just do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. That is fine. But another way to look at this is, since this is 5 and this is 5, this is an isosceles triangle. And since it's an isosceles right triangle, our angles have to be 45 degrees. Well, if this is a 45, 45, 90, and one of my legs is 5, what is the length of my hypotenuse without doing much work at all? Sangha? 5 root 2. It would be 5 root 2, because with a 45, 45 degree angle, someone pick a letter that's not up there? B. B. If I name that B, this would also be B, and my hypotenuse would be B square root of 2. Well, B equals 5, so A is just going to equal 5 square root of 2. Now we could take that 5 square root of 2 and plug that in place of our A down here. That's going to give me D squared equals 2 squared is 4 plus 5 square root of 2 squared. Let's just keep going. D squared equals 4 plus 5 squared is 25. Square root of 2 squared is 2. Because just a reminder, this would just be 5 squared times square root of 2 squared. All right, that's going to give me D squared equals 25 times 2 is 50. It's 54. Kind of running out of room here, so let's go across here. So we have D equals the square root of 54. Is square root of 54 simplified? Yeah and no, all at the same time. Is there a perfect square that goes into 54? Krupa? 9 goes into it. 9 does go into it. So we could reduce this down to square root of 9 times square root of 6, which equals 3 square root of 6. So in fact, our D just equaled 3 square root of 6. We good?
No, yeah.
Okay. Just remember, when you have this problem, you have to draw that bottom. You have to draw that bottom shadow. You have to. You have to know how to do that. All right, our next one says the perimeter of a rhombus is 136, and one of its angles has a measure of 60 degrees. Find the lengths of the diagonals. All right, so we have a rhombus. And it says that it has a perimeter of 136. How does that help me find my side lengths? Labib? Divided by 4. Yeah, that's correct because congruent. Yeah, perfect. So let's go ahead and draw a rhombus. Let's see how good this one looks. Oh, that's looking snazzy. All right, and what did we say the length of one side was? You said how to do it. Who can give me the length of one of the sides? EJ?
34.
34. So each of the sides are 34 because each of our sides are the same length. All right, the next thing it says is one of our angles is 60 degrees. So let's go ahead and label one of our angles 60 degrees. So we're going to say this is 60 degrees. This is 60 degrees. Who could tell me what the other two angles equal? Not add together. What is a missing angle's length or measure? Krupa. It would not be 40.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. It'd be 120. It'd be 120. Yep, so these are going to be 120. This is going to be 120. Now they asked me for the length of the diagonal, so let's draw some diagonals in. Now here's an important thing about the diagonals of a rhombus. They bisect the angle they go through. So if this original angle was 60 degrees, we'd have 30 and 30. If this one's 120, we'd have 60 and 60. So that means we can pull out this triangle here. I'm just going to pull out this top one, redraw it, and that top angle would be 30 degrees. The bottom right one would be 60 degrees, and we would have 90 degrees here. Once again, diagonals bisect the angle. So both of those are equal, both of those are equal, both of those are equal, and both of these are equal as well. Now I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle where the hypotenuse is 34. Now if I label this with S's, I would have S. I would have, this is S square root of 3, and this would be 2S. So according to that, 2S would equal 34, which means S equals 17, and S square root of 3 equals 17 square root of 3. So that means we have some measurements we can put right on there. Let's use blue. So this length is 17 square root of 3. And this length right here is 17. So how long is one of my entire diagonals? Labib, just one of them.
No, wait, 34.
It would be 34, because I actually found this little length here. But with a rhombus, diagonals also bisect each other. They bisect the angle and each other. So if this is 17, this length here is 17. So let's go ahead and call that diagonal 1. Let's call it D1 is going to equal 34. What is the length of my other diagonal then? Songha? 34 root 3. 34 root 3, because if the top half is 17 square root of 3, that means the bottom one is also 17 square root of 3. And that would equal 34 square root of 3. Labib.
Can you not add numbers on the radical?
You cannot. What's basically happening, so if I have 17 square root of 3 plus 17 square root of 3, what I kind of picture in my head, if I had 17x plus 17x, you'd have 34x, right?
Yeah.
This is the same thing. I'm saying how many square root of 3's I have. I have 17 square root of 3's plus 17 square root of 3's. I gave you 17 more. Now you have 34 square root of 3's. So you do not add your radicals. That's how many radicals you actually have. That is actually what it's saying. Questions on either one of those two? That's basically what you guys are doing today. You're looking for triangles, and you're trying to pull out 30, 60, 90s, 45, 45, 90 triangles. That being said, what questions do we have from the homework? Yeah, Alex. Number 6, sure. Woo. All right, so on 6 we have a triangle. And they give me that this is M, this is N. They give me this is 2 square root of 3. They give me this is 30 degrees. They give me this is 60 degrees, and this is 90. Am I doing the right one? Awesome. So it's 30, 60, 90. So I'm going to use S's to label everything. So my M is going to equal S. My N is going to be 2S. And my S square root of 3 is actually that 2 square root of 3. Good? Okay. So my answer should be what? 2, 4. Should be my 2. But I don't need to go any further. Good. Awesome. Other questions? All right, guys, as a quick reminder, you don't have to do that s, 2s, s squared to 3. There are multiple ways to do this. This is just some of the easier ways to keep everything organized on the paper and in your brain. All right, guys, the rest of the time,